When I indicated with reference to the PKTT, I attached the word immediately. Just to clarify what, in my understanding as I was sitting on the desk writing, and I would want to indicate to commissioners that I wrote this, although it's not the subject for today, but I wrote the directives and I take full responsibility for them, all three of them. I was not influenced by anyone, anywhere, not by phone, not by anything. I just had said for 3 days, 29, 30, 31, I wrote these directives wanting to select just 3 issues that would make further impact on the work that we had done and not come to the department and just stay and not make any difference. And therefore, immediately, I know exactly where it came from. It says...
Minister, maybe here is my suggestion. It's page 476, SM20 in your annexures bundle.
In my
Yes.
annexure.
So maybe as you are talking, have it in front of you. It will make it easier.
Okay. It just comes naturally. It says...
Minister, to assist you, if you could pull out your file 2, do you have your file 2 close by? It should be marked 2 of 5.
Is it a different...
It's not with your statement. Your statement is a standalone
in
file.
another... Okay.
There is help coming.
It's fine. They'll assist me.
So when we get to file 2, she's going to open page 476 for you, which is the disbandment letter that you issued. And it is that document that Commissioner Khumalo suggests.
Okay.
When you deal with these aspects,
I touch
you do
on
so
this.
with reference to that document.
Thank you. Thank you for guidance. Are you finding it? Okay, good. Yes, thank you. So I won't go to, yes, this is the directives themselves. Oh, I see, thank you. Well, the meaning in this context of immediately is not as that of switching the light, switch off that light immediately, and you go to the wall, you do so. That is why, from where I sit, immediately can't be read alone in the directives. It needs to be read with what I requested from the National Commissioner, saying, go and prepare the preliminary report, and then also later, after the preliminary report, there should be Minesco. Minesco is where Minister and Deputy Minister, that is Ministry, sit with top management, so that we consider what I have taken a decision on immediately. So immediately would then mean the decision has been taken immediately. Then prepare for those 2 things. So when you read that immediately alone, you remove the preliminary report and you remove the Minesco meeting that was attached to that very directive, immediately loses meaning as in the directive.
I'm sorry, Minister. I want to understand your use of immediately. What do you say immediately relates to? Does it relate to the disbandment, that is disbandment immediately? If not, what do you say it relates to? I'm not sure I understood you.
It relates to a decision having been taken. So saying to the National Commissioner, take note that the decision has been taken immediately. The decision.
So it is you that acted immediately.
Maybe let me put it like this to explain. It doesn't say, for instance, with immediate effect. It says immediately, meaning this decision has been taken immediately.
So the way I'm sitting, I think the two mean the same.
But in the context, especially when you attach
Yes.
the preliminary report, which is not required as of 31, it is required for another date, and then the UNESCO, it clearly sends a message that this immediate is not like switching off. It's not like whoever is driving.
Minister, when I studied or was taught English in my younger days, they would say an adverb. What does it do? It modifies a verb, I think, and an adjective qualifies a noun. That's the grammar I was taught. So your immediately is an adverb. So which verb in your sentence does it modify or does it relate to? That's where I want to be sure of what exactly you mean. Because as the sentence stands, it follows immediately after the verb disestablished. And ordinarily, I would read that to mean that you want the task team disestablished immediately. So the immediately relates to disestablished. So that's what must happen immediately. Now, with those views and a little bit of grammar, insofar as I understand it, can you try to explain and make me understand your use of immediately?
It says immediately, yes.
Yes.
But then, because I understood that immediately is a process, it denotes a process. There would definitely be a process which the National Commissioner needs to speak to or respond to. It is immediately, but pointing to two futuristic events. The preliminary report, if you like, you would say, oh, okay, it's immediately, but not before the preliminary report is presented, or not before the UNESCO, because otherwise what would be the meaning of writing, asking for a preliminary report, if it was not indicating a timeline? It was indicating a timeline. Immediately the decision has been taken immediately. But then the process itself will be as indicated in the letter. Otherwise, I could have written this and stopped it immediately, and it would have given a different meaning. And anyone who says, what is any other meaning here except exactly what it says, immediately disband now and everything. But once you say it's like saying pending a preliminary report, pending the UNESCO meeting. But of course, that is immediately. And in the context of government processes, you use these words, but
it can't come to a screeching halt, as it were. It would have to.
Pardon?
I'm saying what you are saying, basically, Minister, is that it could not come to a screeching halt.
It wouldn't.
All right.
Wouldn't.
All right, Minister. Thank you. I was not interrogating you. I just wanted to understand your use of immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Minister, can I just follow up on that? I do apologize, Mr.
No, it's
now
quite
that
okay.
the
Thank
chair has started there. And it's on the back of this discussion with the chairperson, how you're explaining what you contemplated with the use of immediately. Now, there are two things that you ask the National Commissioner to do. You say he must give a preliminary report on the 20th of January, and then the last act in execution of your decision is a final and closing report that must be submitted to a late meeting in January 2025. Now, in the interim report, in the light of this discussion with the chair, what did you expect to see in the implementation of this instruction? What do you expect to see in the interim report?
I was expecting just any kind of a response that would give effect to the directive. If not, any other response from the National Commissioner. And I must say, I've done this even in other departments a few times, even in a meeting, to say, DG, we've taken a decision now. We have immediately taken a decision. And I would even ask, how long would it take you? A week? I'm the first one normally to say a week. And DG would say, Minister, 2 weeks. And I would say fine. Because I've come to understand how officials of government work. They work very hard, but not without one form or the other of relaxing. Sometimes in a situation where you really feel the pressure yourself. So I was expecting that National Commissioner would respond. That is the word. He would respond to the directive. But in particular, indicating how this would be given effect, how it would happen from his perspective. Simply because even if I left it in earlier, where I was explaining the powers of the minister vis-a-vis the powers of the National Commissioner, but they are the two sides of the same coin.
Yes. And okay, I note what you say. I guess we'll have a further discussion. And then you've told us what you would expect, you were expecting to see in the interim, in the preliminary report. And then in the final report, which must come in January still, it's a close-up report. What do you expect to see there?
I was expecting to see, first, get the outcome of the preliminary report. Depending on the preliminary report, then we'll move to the final. I knew that this is quite a tight time frame, but it was deliberate, just to highlight the urgency, to highlight the importance, to highlight what I wanted to draw the attention of the department to right at the beginning of the year. I knew that, as usual, there would be flexibilities in the process. At one point, as an example, I wanted us to hold a workshop, a 3-day workshop, in February or so. But as time went on preparing, they then said, management said, no, Minister, let's hold this workshop in March or something like that. Even the summit, police summit, we didn't hold it at the time that I had indicated first, or we had indicated first as minister. We held it much later. It happens quite frequently that as minister, you want this period and you pronounce it. But then the officials, when they implement, when they operationalize, they find that they come back to you, they propose a different time frame. It happens quite frequently, and I hope not just me alone, all of us. So that,
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Minister.
Okay. No, I was going to hand back to Ms. Sill. I just wanted clarification of what you were contemplating, and I note your explanation. I guess we'll have further discussion about it. But I think I'll hand back to your evidence leader.
Ms. Sillo, just to say, this does not mean that we have started engaging.
Indeed.
Just a sort of clarity.
No.
And my colleague, Commissioner Kumalo, says that he too wants something clarified. We will.
And I just wanted to point out that I think when Commissioner Baloyi indicated she wanted to say something, And I do appreciate that we haven't finished that session where the minister gives his version. But at the same time, it is necessary that we introduce some logic to how we approach things. So in light of us trying to, or at least the three of you trying to have a better understanding of that paragraph, that last paragraph, I too have some questions. And I wanted to say, when I put them to the minister, it's all clarity-seeking questions, not so much that we have started to engage, but I'll do so after Commissioner Khumalo. Thank you.
I have difficulty with your explanation that immediately refers to you having made a decision immediately, because I'm going to read that sentence. This is what it says. I therefore direct that the political killings task team be disestablished immediately. So my reading of it is that you were directing that something be done immediately, not that you were saying you have made an immediate decision that something must happen in the future. So if you can just...
Definitely, that is part of what immediately, in terms of the decision that has been taken, would mean. It would mean start thinking about the process, start preparing the report, start, aligning yourself with this or any other kind of response. So it indicates that even though we are not stopping now, everything switching off now, but switch on the process.
Does it also mean if you have different views, then engage me on those views?
Obviously, it will mean that exactly because in any decision that the ministry would take, you open it up for engagement with the management. That's why the second meeting after the preliminary report would entail UNESCO so that we have engagements on the matter to assess whatever would have come up from the preliminary report.
Right. We will come back to the directive, but for now, I'll give back to Advocate Silva.
Thank you, Commissioner Khumalo. And by way of clarity, still on the same paragraph, my one question has in part been asked by Commissioner Khumalo. My second question, still on that paragraph, and I refer you to the sentence relating to the filing of the preliminary report. That sentence starts with a word further. You state further that a preliminary report in this regard be submitted. Now, in the context of trying to understand what immediately means, I would like some clarity as to further to what must a preliminary report be filed. My interpretation of that paragraph is further to the immediate disbandment, a preliminary report must be filed. I want to test my understanding with you. Would that be a correct understanding, or do you think I am completely misreading that? Precisely because you say further. It doesn't say to be disestablished immediately and that a preliminary report be filed. It says further, comma, so that has to imply it is further to something. And going back into the paragraph, I am trying to determine further to what. And the only thing that my logic tells me is further to the immediate disestablishment. So I just want to test my understanding with you.
I want to see this sentence.
It starts, let's start.
Observation. Yes, I see. Yes. I see the sentence. Further, so I therefore direct that the political killings task team be disestablished immediately.
Yeah, correct.
Meaning decision taken and then processes, but further to that, going forward, or no, in other words, then prepare a preliminary report.
Oh, so what would precede the filing of a preliminary report is the immediate disestablishment, which, as you say, means that to start the process of disestablishment.
Only.
Only.
Other than switching off.
Okay. I'm clarified about the meaning you attach, as I guess as the Commissioner pointed out, Commissioner Khumalo. Perhaps we shall revert to this paragraph over the course of today and tomorrow. But in the meantime, I am aware that you have not completed your version, putting forward your version, and I'm not laying the blame at your doorstep, Minister. I accept that perhaps an engagement started earlier than you had anticipated to finish that exercise. So would it be fair to grant you perhaps 5 more minutes to wrap up to enable the process to move forward? Thank you.
Let me try that. On reasons, therefore, on page 56, I think I'll leave it as it is. And page 57, I've touched on budgetary matters to then go to what is in what I consider to be important, paragraph 114.
Yes.
To indicate that on paragraph 114, since the letter required a report to be prepared by the 20th, and given that I would be on leave, this is a direct quote, because I'm now indicating what happened after. Until I would be on leave until 14 January 2025, I instructed Brigadier Litoko of my office to forward the letter from the Minister to all Deputy National Commissioners, including Lieutenant General Sibia, to instruct them to prepare the necessary report. To me, that kind of response from the National Commissioner was flowing, was a response which resonated with the letter and spirit of what I had written in terms of the directives on paragraph 114.
114 of your statement, Minister?
It's, is it?
It can't.
Yes, I'm reading. I see that it's 58, 56, 57.
Minister, may I
don't know what
invite
happened,
you to
but-
page 59 of your statement, page 59?
Yes.
And if you have regard to paragraph 176, my understanding is this is what you've just spoken to now.
Yes, the mistake I've done is to make a quotation outside this. I'm sorry about that. I see the
It's fine.
error that I
It's all
made.
right.
So we're on paragraph 176.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. To say what then happens on the 3rd, it's that there is then the directive now of the National Commissioner to his staff in the office to say, write such and such a letter and do and inform Deputy National Commissioners and follow and inform them accordingly, which indicated to me 2 things. One was that we were one with the National Commissioner. When I received the news, or when I got the indication that the National Commissioner has instructed Brigadier Lutoko as early as the 3rd of January while he was on leave. That was just a couple of days after the letter of the directive in relation to PKTT. And then the next thing is 16 January. That was a separate meeting, and the 17th. I will come back at some other point on those. But what is important is on page 60, paragraph 179, wherein it says, on 22 January 2025, National Commissioner finished a comprehensive memorandum to me acknowledging receipt of my 31st December 24 directive. Now, I want to go to paragraph 180. And then I took that directly from the report, preliminary report of the 22nd, where the National Commissioner says the following, I quote, "In conclusion, the task team has undeniably achieved and far exceeded the purpose for which it was established. No other task team in South Africa has achieved the success nor has been able to investigate and ensure the successful prosecution of perpetrators of politically motivated murders. The directive by the Minister of Police to disband the National Task Team has been noted. The initial objective and the directive by the President has been achieved, with a noticeable decrease of political-related killings in KwaZulu-Natal as a result of the National Task Team's intervention and relentless pursuit of its mandate. The South African Police Service remains responsible for the finalization of those dockets in possession of the task team, as well as the finalization of the dockets which are currently before court. The following steps are being taken to wind down the task team without compromising pending investigations or court processes. The 128 dockets which are under investigation and allocated to the National Task Team will be retained by the task team, and investigations will be finalized, and audit will be done of those dockets still under investigation in order to establish which dockets can be returned to the station of origin or allocated to other investigation units within SAPS. The current capacity of the National Task Team will be gradually scaled down. The only personnel who are required to finalize the dockets retained by the national team. The scaling down of the team will depend on the 115 dockets that are currently pending in courts, with most of the court dates in the year 2025. It is anticipated that the team will complete the work before the end of 2025. However, seriousness of the cases and processes of court will indicate the course of action.